All right. Let's start there then.
Bonte says, Dibs, as Dib comes in, that he's going to watch Star Wars for the first time ever. And he's like, well, where do I start? And I said, Episode 4, a.k.a. A New Hope, which is the first, technically, installment.
You've never seen any of those movies?
Seen one.
Okay.
It's a trap. Which one?
The original with Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, that's A New Hope.
Yeah.
That's number 4.
I don't remember it, though. I mean,
No, it's
I watched
okay.
it like
No
25
judgment.
years
No
ago.
judgment.
I'm
I don't
judging.
care if you
I'm
did
judging.
judge me. Judge me all you want to about Star Wars.
I will judge you, but it won't be over your lack of Star Wars knowledge. And good morning. Good to see you guys.
Oh, by the way, real quick.
Yes.
Purdy. Let's get one more in. That's from YouTube. That is from Jay's.
Glad
YouTube.
you squeezed that in.
Purdy. We got to do it for the Fast Five.
Okay.
'Cause that was the Fast Five brought to you by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi, unbeatable internet, only from Xfinity. And things are back to normal because Dan Dibley is in the building alongside Mark Willard, who's coming in from Vegas, not hungover. What's happening, boys? Happy New Year.
Oh, my gosh. Happy New Year.
Southwest delivered, huh?
Finally. Spent 7 hours in the Oakland airport on Christmas Day to end up in our own beds and in a car the next morning. But, be that as it may, they took care of it. They made that right, and they got us to Vegas and back a few days later. So everybody, the Southwest story, everybody knows the Southwest story.
Yeah, so my understanding was that
the
computers and
Well,
guys didn't show up, or people didn't show up to work.
It
It was like a combination of like
It's
three
an
things.
intricate system.
Yeah, not intricate enough is the problem. So they were using very, very old technology, and they had an internal breakdown of their communication system. So from what I was told, because I talked to at least 20 Southwest employees in the last week and a half, essentially, you know how you, thank you. You know how you
First
get
drop of the new year.
I got a bunch of them today. Anyway, you know how you get a text when it's like your flight's been delayed or your flight's been canceled? The same way we weren't getting them. Like, you'd get those texts a day and a half after your flight's been canceled. Oh, your flight's been moved to a new gate. No, that was 3 days ago. Why are you sending me this now? They said the same thing was happening to the employees. So you're supposed to be on a flight that's going to go now from San Antonio to San Francisco, and the pilots might be finding out about it 24 hours after it was supposed to leave.
Oops.
So the internal breakdown, and you had crews everywhere that had no clue where they were even supposed to go.
Wow.
So that's what happened.
Thus, no crews, no planes, no crews, no planes, no flights, no crews, no planes, no flights, no bags. I saw the picture of all those bags. The bag alert,
major bag alert. Oh, my God.
Planes, trains, and automobiles?
Oh, dude, much like that, yeah.
Oakland last night, 9 p.m. I mean, there is a room next to baggage claim. There's just bags. Just bags. And I'm like, oh, gosh, have they been there for a week and a half?
Yeah, a lot of
Those
bags.
might be sitting there
Extra
since December
bags.
22nd.
Yeah.
Imagine your golf club sitting there, because that's what
Oh
I always
my
think about,
God.
is like bringing my golf clubs, and I'm like, if they lose my golf clubs.
Thank goodness. We hadn't checked anything. So, of all the stories.
You can always ship it. They'll be there.
We were talking about them earlier.
Yeah.
Of all the stories, mine was not bad. In fact, when I did tell a gate agent, I go, look, just shoot me straight. Like, are these flights going anywhere? Because if not, I'm going to go home. She looks at me and goes, you can go home? If you can go home, you should go home. These people have been sitting here from Denver for 3 days. Like, go home if you can go home.
And
So I'm
shout
like,
out
all right, I'm gonna go home.
Southwest for reading the room. They're allowing free changes of your flights. And my son flying back to Santa Barbara this week hit me yesterday. He's like, hey, Dad, they got a free change policy right now because of the debacle that's gone on. So I was able to change his flight this week, push it back for an extra day. So Pooks will be in town for an extra day. So Southwest trying to make it right. They're trying to recover after a bad holiday.
I know Southwest hires, the majority of their pilots are ex-fighter pilots, correct?
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, that's what I had heard.
No,
I
I've
heard they're
gotten
ex-military
deep into
guys, so they're kind of like, just get in, we'll get there, we'll be good. And that's why there's a lot of turbulence on a lot of Southwest flights.
A lot of the commercial pilots are former military.
I know that.
My
Yes.
fraternity
What do you
big
get endorsement
brother.
for Southwest there, Joe?
Well, no, I like Southwest.
I mean,
Who doesn't like Southwest?
That's going to make me want to buy
No, but you know you're going to get there safely because these guys
Southwest
are
Airlines,
elite.
the airline that messes up and then makes it right.
Exactly. Sit
The
down,
tagline.
we got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. By the way, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, kgmz-fm and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. And don't forget that you could also watch us every single day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log out and search 95.7 The Game. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel while you are there. How about those Dubs, huh?
Unbelievable.
You want to go Niners?
Unbelievable.
Purdy, Niners,
All of it.
McCaffrey?
All
Let's
of
start
it.
Dubs. I think we'll start with the Dubs. And we can talk about the Buffalo tragedy a little bit as we get deeper into it, because that was about as scary as it gets. But that Dubs game was a nice respite from all of the bad news from watching the Monday Night Football game. That Warrior game was about 17 games in one. They won. They blew out Atlanta. They got blown out. They won a nail-biter. They lost a nail-biter. And that repeated itself about 7 times. And our guy, Kevon Looney, in typical Looney fashion where, okay, you missed the game winner, but then you get it and you get the game winner. Just an incredible sequence from Kevon Looney closing that baby out.
I'm kind of with you, too, about how it was what the soul needed after what we had experienced earlier in the evening. But any night that ends with a big Kevon Looney smile, I mean, that man's smile, my gosh, that fills up a TV set in a living room like nothing, man. So, yeah, it was a welcome distraction. It's not going to be a full distraction. Obviously, we're all thinking about Damar Hamlin, and we'll talk about that a little bit today. But, man, the Warriors, when they play right now, it just feels like a damn journey. Like, I'm not even, we haven't had a chance probably to talk much about what happened Friday night against Portland.
Oh, that was awesome.
Like, these games are just... It's like they're 4 mini games, sometimes 5 mini games within the game. Seriously, yeah, it's like a bowl game. Those games go on
forever.
It's like a USC Tulane bowl game. Is that thing over yet,
dude?
But
I had a lot of fun watching. 22 for Tulane. Draft him.
I mean, did you see how many? This was funny too. Watching the 2 semifinal games on New Year's Eve. How many people were like? They might be NFL people, NBA people. Like when you get to the playoff, here comes all the casual viewers. So I had a bunch of people who were like, hey, so these are the 4 best teams. Does anybody play defense in college football? Like, I've been watching all year. Yeah. Does anyone play defense? And I'm like, so here's the answer. No. Like Iowa. Iowa sometimes, they'll play a good 13-10 football game.
Shutout in their game.
Yeah, that's what Iowa does. But outside, I mean, it's unbelievable. These are the best defenses in college football, and everybody's getting 50.
The guy 88 for Georgia, his name's evading me. The defensive lineman is going to be like a top 10
he's
pick.
Going to be top 10.
And he did nothing in that game. And I'm like, what is going on? Because Georgia's defense was stout for the most part this year.
C.J. Stroud. Made a lot of money.
That's right, he did.
Marvin Harrison Jr. made a lot of money.
He's a baller.
Made a lot of money
at
at
Ohio State. We were on him in the Rose
State.
Bowl last year.
Yeah, they should have won that game. Kicker hooks it left. Michigan.
That's a long kick. It's hard to put it on the kicker.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a long kick.
I know, but Ohio State's up double digits with like 7 seconds to go. Don't put it on the kicker.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, how about not leaving receivers by themselves 80 yards down the field?
How about the rumors with Jim Harbaugh once again going to the NFL?
Indianapolis Colts?
Denver Broncos.
Why
Carolina
would he want to
Panthers.
go for just a second? Why would anyone who has options want to coach Russ and I'm asking sincerely, Russ and the Broncos? That feels like a very toxic situation.
It feels like it. I'm not 100%. I know this sounds ridiculous. I don't know if it's going to be Russ. You know what I mean?
Really?
I mean, look.
You saw the report that came out?
Which one?
Oh, on Sunday morning. He's going to completely revise his off-season training.
Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
I just think he's a lot.
Listen, I know the dead cap figures. I get it. But I also know that the Denver Broncos are not going to just be like, so we're going to stink for 5 years.
Yeah, the Walmart family.
You got to do something. So I don't know what they'll do. But
what was the temperature on the Golden State Warriors before you went on vacation? Dibs and Willard.
How would you answer that?
Blown out
it would be much like the weather we've had of late. I was very cool on them. I was mostly out on where they were, and you look at what they were on the road, coming off of that New York road trip where they lost by 74 and 88 in those back-to-back games, and I know that they've been much better at home, and it was a softy schedule coming up, but no Steph, no Wiggins. I mean, I was very cool on the Golden State Warriors, without a doubt.
I think everyone was. And the youngsters, our opinion of the youngsters couldn't have been lower, just like 10, 11 days ago.
Stock was up on Kuminga coming off that road
But
trip.
he's been even better obviously before the injury. Yeah. And then like Wiseman, I'm like, he's unplayable. And a couple of small, decent stints. I'm feeling really good about where they're at.
Well, and Dib's vacation, yours started a week before mine.
God.
So my temperature would have been this. Like, we got to a point where at least this is when I left, I'm like, it's like you got to find a way to hang on and just grab some wins when you can. It's hard for me to criticize a team or even assess a team. Their best players out. You make the argument the second best players out. And then the grab bag of like their third and fifth and seventh best players are out here and there, right? DiVincenzo gets sick, and then now Kuminga's hurt. Clay is there sometimes. He's not there all the time. I was just like, dude, if they can just sort of grab wins when they can and still be somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 when Steph gets back, I would take it. And so to then look at what's happened over this last week, it's wobbly. It doesn't look sustainable. But like they found a bunch of wins, and they're 2 games over 500. So the temperature was just kind of like wait and see.
But the way they throttled Memphis on Christmas Day,
that was so fun.
That did not surprise me that they played well that day.
It did surprise me that they played hard and that they played with an edge. The way they went about it, they throttled Memphis.
I woke up that morning and I went, Warriors +8? Oh, Merry Christmas. +8? I go, there's no way. I go, this is printing money. I just went into the app and I'm like, oh, boop, whatever I'm willing to throw. Like, have you not watched the Warriors at Chase Center? I don't care how hamstrung they are.
Yeah.
They're going to bring a game. Especially with Memphis, who's sitting there basically middle fingering them for 2 years.
And the entire Western Conference.
Right. Like, of course they were going to come hard.
Worried about the ass.
I'm good
in the West.
Did they get 8 technicals, the Warriors, as a team in that game?
I think Curry.
And the Clay tech is maybe my favorite. The way he's doing the slide, standing over.
I was like, oh, man.
It was great.
Brooks
that was awesome.
Right?
Yes.
That was awesome.
Oh, my God.
Missed some of it in the middle of the Southwest Malaise. But anyway,
let me ask you guys a question about the Niners here. Because Brock Purdy, it's insane.
Brothers.
Christian McCaffrey. Okay. Frank Gore, he brought up Ricky Waters. There's been some really good, like Frank Gore to me wasn't this talented. He wasn't the fastest, wasn't the biggest.
Not the two-way threat either.
No. And I look at him as like he's more of an overachiever. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Frank. I'm talking about what he can do on a field. Is Christian McCaffrey the most talented running back physically in terms of what he can do ever in a 49er uniform?
Roger Craig, and I heard you earlier say Ricky Waters. I thought Roger Craig was a better comp for me just because of his ability as a receiver. But watching Christian McCaffrey, I'm trying to go through all the plays in my mind, and I can't think of a play where he gives up yards that are there for the taking. Every time he has the ball, he is so efficient north to south, and when he goes east to west, he doesn't go east to west, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Every time he has the ball, he is so efficient with the way he gains yards. It's incredible.
You know who I was just thinking of while you were talking about that, Joe, was, and I'll explain, but Buster Posey, and here's why.
Please explain.
Well, so being at the game in Vegas, and it was 60-40 49er fans, but it might as well have felt 50-50.
Yeah.
Spadone, you jump in on this. There was no row in the stadium that wasn't represented by both teams.
Cool.
Okay, so it was actually a really cool vibe. The reason I bring up Buster is because even a Raider fan, when McCaffrey would make a play, they would just be like, respect, man. That guy's different.
He's so sick.
It takes someone's fandom away. There's nothing you can say. And it's the same experience I would have years living in L.A. going to Dodger Stadium when Buster was up. Like if a Giant comes up and the uniform comes up, boo, just yelling, screaming. But they'd be like, but Buster, man, that guy's he's just the whole package. Like, you can't get mad. And the Raider fan vibe at McCaffrey was the exact same thing, where it was just like, I mean, respect. That guy is so freaking good.
So good.
At so many things on the football field. Right. And it's really cool. I know you guys have experienced this even more than me this year. But when you're at the game and you can see the all 22 or whatever,
crazy.
the all whatever, it's just like watching what that guy's doing on every play and how much he's moving. He's kind of the Steph Curry of the 49ers, never not moving to a spot to do something that helps the 49ers on that play.
One-on-one equals 5 to 10 extra yards. Every time. Which, how many guys in the league, in the entire NFL, does that equate to?
You asked the question, is he the most talented running back in the Niner uniform? Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
He's up there.
Yes.
I brought up Ricky Waters because Ricky Waters played right receiver at Notre Dame. It converted to being a running back with the 49ers. And you forget his year when they won the Super Bowl. Heck, all those years.
He was so sick.
5 touchdowns against the New York Giants in a playoff game. He was the difference maker. The Niners of the 90s were never the same when he bolted to Philadelphia because of his run-pass option. He could run between the tackles. He could run outside. He had breakaway speed. He could line up in the slot. pound for pound, Ricky Waters is right up there with Christian McCaffrey, and he's a borderline Hall of Famer. But that's where Christian McCaffrey is. It's
I'm glad you said that
McCaffrey.
earlier because I didn't put as much respect on Ricky Waters' name as I should. When you rattled it off 10,000 yards and the fact that he was a receiver at Notre Dame and what he meant for that Niners 90s offense in terms of the two-way impact, I think I definitely underrate his impact.
Mike Shanahan used him too. I mean, perfectly.
Well, then he went to
Shanahan-
Ray Rhodes in Philly. It wasn't the same.
I'd answer that that he has the opportunity to be.
Right.
We're still only. It's been 9 games.
But it's been it's been as amazing.
He's the
9.5.
Right.
And outside of that half, they've won them all.
All of them.
Right. And that's not a coincidence.
Well, I think of Christian McCaffrey. I think about the gravity Stephen Curry has on
Yeah.
the basketball court, the
Yes.
spacing. Christian McCaffrey's allowing George Kittle to go one-on-one now. He's allowing Brandon Ayuk to go one-on-one now. Deebo Samuel, one-on-one. They're playing easy football.
All this is happening without Deebo Samuel, to your
In-
point.
in-
I
in
mean,
the last few games,
you know, I mean, it's been 4 games
And you
now.
haven't missed him.
And you haven't missed Deebo Samuel.
Seattle, Washington, and now the Raiders.
So this leads me to something that I want to throw at you guys and see how it grabs you. I'm going to hold this guy's name to protect him. But in all my flight escapades yesterday, there's a whoop.
Because it's a definite
There's a
whoop.
whoop.
This guy.
Whoop.
Okay.
Yeah, get ready.
You and Pete
Sprout.
Rose gambling in our
No,
house.
so
What-
we're a quick layover in LA last night.
Okay.
Okay, which is unfortunately it was actually right after we landed, we're walking to the gate when I see out of the corner of my eye the Hamlin thing happens live on the TVs of the airport. But I run into a friend who he is a former NFL player.
Spadone?
He is a former NFL scout.
Okay.
He is a current NFL media member, I guess we'll say it that
All
way.
right.
Okay, so this is somebody who, right?
Somebody who obviously I know, you know.
No, but whose opinion on this, I'm going to, right? Like,
Okay.
So I go, man, we were at that 49er Raider game.
Get a plumber in here.
Get a plumber. We're at the 49er Raider game, and so we start talking about quarterback for both of these teams.
Oh,
The 49ers and the Raiders.
All right.
First one he says, I go, what the hell happened to the 49er defense? This is one question that the 49ers don't, right? What happened to them?
No answer for Stidham.
Well, he goes, look, this is what a lot of us have not been able to say, but this shows you who Derek Carr is.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God.
Derek Carr is someone who takes the easy way out on every play. And therefore, not a bad quarterback, but it's check down, first opportunity to get the ball out of his hands. He does it every time. So what happened is when a Raider team came out and was ready to throw the ball downfield, the 49ers weren't ready for that. They hadn't seen any of that on tape. Like, okay, that's his take on the Raider quarterback situation. Then we go to the 49er quarterback situation. To wrap it up quickly, he says basically, look, Purdy's your guy. And Kyle Shanahan has now got a joystick in his hands. And that's all you're seeing. He goes, because what you have now, and this is different than Jimmy, is you basically have someone who's really, really smart. And you didn't have that before. So Kyle Shanahan now is able to fully do his playbook. And as many of us have said before, he quote unquote sees it. So Kyle's got a joystick and knows that he has somebody who, when it's drawn, he will see it and he will execute it. And so what you now have is someone who has maybe the NFL brain acumen that Kyle wants that Jimmy didn't have, and the accuracy that Trey doesn't have. That was his take. Purdy's your guy, and they're just going to have to eat what they did in the draft a year and a half ago.
Or have him as an insurance policy and hope that he can come in and make plays. And ultimately, if Brock is your guy next year, you still have, and go ahead and cut this, Spadoni, Trey's package to use in terms of, as a change of pace. Maybe he becomes your Taysom Hill.
Well, and his quarterback salary, the way I would look at it is your quarterback salary isn't boggling them down. Had he been making 15,
right.
20
That's
million.
the beauty of it.
That's
the
who knows.
Sure.
And here's the other thing I've learned. Jimmy Garoppolo, Alex Smith, all the other. Look what's going on with Zach Wilson. You're done. Guy gets hurt. 2 weeks later, you're the
back.
starter
Yeah,
for the
you're
next
back.
2 weeks. To say that someone's done here, I don't know. In your point, I don't think it's right now. He's in the driver's seat. Brock Purdy. There's no
But what
way
happened?
around
And
it.
let me play
You have
devil's.
to
Let me
just
push
sit-
back because I still think Trey's a very talented quarterback. I don't think we've seen enough Trey to have all these final conclusions about accuracy and whether he can
Right.
run an offense. What happens if the Niners lose in the first round? of the playoffs with Brock, and he stinks it up.
Well,
He
then
throws
It's
2 or
open
3
competition.
picks.
Yeah, then that
I think no matter what, you
changes
go
the
into next year
conversation.
as an open competition. You don't just hand the keys to the kingdom with
Right.
Brock Purdy.
What's
You
the-
go into next year, and it's open.
Wouldn't you say that feels hard to believe though? Now all of a sudden,
Oh, it does. Well,
the
I've come
idea
to
the
point-
idea that
Look,
Brock Purdy goes out there and quote unquote just stinks it up and loses you the game 3 picks.
Hey, listen, earlier
Like that-
today.
Well, he almost threw 4 or 5 in that game.
Yeah, he
But
threw
you
some
got-
old no throws.
I'm just being
Some old
honest.
no
like,
throws.
Yeah,
All
and that
quarterbacks
catch
do
that
it.
Ayuk
Yeah, all
had,
quarterbacks do it,
well,
yes.
I mean, before Gold misses the field goal, why are we
Right.
running that play in the first place? I mean,
he's throwing across his body down, and everyone's like, "Well, he's open. Wait, dude."
that
I'm
was a
like,
bad play call.
It's a bad
I thought.
decision.
You
Well,
run,
it's a bad-
you
it's a
run
bad
the
decision.
reverse naked
He almost
boot.
threw a pick on the first play.
It was a
You were
bad
already in
decision why
field goal range.
Brock should have just tossed that thing
Yes,
out of bounds. They
agreed.
were already
But
right.
he's young. He's a rookie.
My
And
thing
again,
is
this
this.
goes back to like he's a rookie.
I've become so impressed with Brock Purdy that I will be disappointed if the Niners don't get through the NFC. That's how Brock Purdy. That's how well he's playing. When he's running the
Here's
offense, I'm like,
the
yeah,
thing,
they're
though.
skipping the
I
beat.
mean-
we make that about Brock, but here's what I think all of us, and by the way, this comment was added by this person I was talking to as well. They're the best team.
Yeah.
So take the quarterback.
Agreed.
They're the best team.
But the best team doesn't always win.
They don't always
which
win.
is how the NFL
They don't
playoffs
always
work.
win.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have to be prepared for that
Yeah.
and not hang that around like the NFL is a single elimination tournament. But they're the best team
I gotta
in
see
the
what it looks
NFC.
like. I
In the
gotta see-
NFC.
But he's got
I'm not-
big boxes left to check. He's
No.
never won a playoff game, obviously. He's never won a road playoff game, and he's never been to a conference championship
Right,
game. There's a
but
lot of
those-
things he's never done as the quarterback.
And
so
playoffs are different, but he's surrounded.
Absolutely.
He's surrounded by people who have played in the playoffs before. Number one, and actually, the last regular season box that we were asking for him to check. This is the beauty of the Raider game. That was it. We were asking for him to be down by double digits in the
Yeah.
second half, and how would he handle it? Well, 37
what he did-
points. That's how.
How he handled it was, hey, McCaffrey, where you at?
Exactly.
Carry us.
Exactly.
That's the
the
difference.
McCaffrey screen
made-
play.
McCaffrey,
that changed that
McCaffrey-
whole
And
thing.
the block from
McCaffrey is the
Brunskill.
difference.
Such a great block.
So
McCaffrey
feathery.
is- yeah, McCaffrey's the
Yeah.
difference.
He just
What else you
did
guys
just
got coming
I
up?
think I was getting feathery.
Well, I
Before we
mean,
get out of here.
yeah. We'll get to. I want to update everybody on Hamlin because the kids are still off of school. So before work this morning, my daughter had a couple friends over for a sleepover, and I took them to go get bagels before I came in. And as I'm driving back, these are 3 13-year-old girls, okay, in 8th grade. And my daughter goes, "Hey, Dad." Yeah, he goes, "I bet you'll know. Who's Damar Hamlin? And what happened?" So this is something that is so across the board. I know a lot of people are waking up this morning wanting to know the latest and what the NFL did. And so we'll get to all that. Mike Silver's going to come on, and Rich Ornberger, who had some very, very poignant things to say on Twitter last night. Like I always, right? Don't we always think in those situations, like, what is it like to be a player? Right? And why do they all pray with each other before the game and after the game? And it's reasons like this. So we'll certainly get into all that. And then, I need to tell everybody about Allegiant Stadium. I bet Spadone is waiting to hear that. There's some really interesting stories about being at that game on Sunday. The Warriors,
Did you
too.
see CC Sabathia?
I did.
Light the flame.
And Ice
clicker.
Cube
Oh,
and
nice.
Too Short.
Oh, you went to the concert.
No, they were there.
They're not
performing
going to
at halftime.
concert. They get a stage.
I was teasing.
The stage
I
right
was
there in the
teasing.
stands. It's a beautiful stadium, but anyway. And then at some point this weekend, we'll circle back to if anybody wants to redo their Giants Carlos Correa conversation.
You know what? No, we'll have this conversation later in the week.
Yes.
I'm ready for this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Willard and
they
Dibs
said-
coming up.
everything
Happy
that they
New
said
Year,
they could have
everybody.
said the day of.